some interesting comments coming out of, again, our nation's capital as Ron Rivera had media availability. And something interesting came out of said media availability, that maybe some Commanders players were concerned about the coaching style of one Eric Bieniemy and his intensity. I'll let Ron Rivera take it from here. We don't want to misquote anybody, so here was Ron after practice yesterday.
Players had to kind of adapt to that and have any, I guess, sort of struggled with that at times.
Yeah, I mean, they have, and one of the biggest things is you know, and I had a number of guys come to me and I say, hey, just go talk to him. I said, understand what he's trying to get across to you, you know, and I think, you know, I think as they go and they talk and they listen to him, it's been enlightening for a lot of these guys. I mean, it's a whole different approach. You know, you get a different kind of player from the players back in the past, especially in light of how things are coming out of college football. So a lot of these young guys, you know, they do struggle with certain things. And a lot of you also got to take for where they've been. I mean, guys coming from certain programs are used to it. Guys coming from other programs aren't as much. So, you know, us as a coach, you know, I kind of have to assimilate and get a feel for everybody. You know, Eric has an approach, and it's the way he does things, and he's not going to change. And because he believes in it, Jack has his approach. You know, having been a head coach, I think Jack has a tendency to try and figure guys out a little bit more, as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Where Eric hasn't had that experience yet.
Just when they came to you, it was just they felt like Eric was riding them too hard, or?
Well, they just were a little concerned.
Go ahead, Michael.
I mean, you're paying $8 million a year for that? Seriously. He's the guardian of winning in the program. I didn't realize Jack Del Rio was in charge of his program and Bieniemy's in charge of his program. Go talk to the coach if you don't like it. Well, what do you do if I got to go talk to Bieniemy? Like, you're the guardian of winning. You're the head coach. You know, he's shocked now that he's only had 3 winning seasons because everything gets pushed around. No accountability. Like, you're in charge of the program. You stand in front of Bieniemy when people are taking shots at him, okay? I don't know if Bieniemy's a good offensive coordinator. The media thinks he should be a head coach. He's had 8 interviews. He hasn't gotten a job. I don't know what's happened in the interviews, but that's a lot of interviews. But I'm going to defend him here. Like, at some point, as the leader of the organization, the guardian of winning, you're the only one. JVT, there's only one person in the organization that is written into their contract where winning matters. One. Just one. The head coach. And you're just going to let Jack Del Rio do what he wants? You're going to let Bieniemy? So where's your program? Like, what did I hire you for? What am I paying you $8 million for? Right? You come in there, and here's what we're going to do. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I want to coach. You coach the coaches. Oh, well, you know, the players come to me. Go talk to Eric. No, it's your program. Do something. And then airing your dirty laundry in the media? Are you kidding me? I mean, people say, well, it's a way to get the message to the players. No, 8 o'clock every morning, you got a chance to talk to the players. You're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. You tell them what you want. You tell them the standard of performance for the Washington football team with Ron Rivera as the head coach. It's not Eric Bieniemy's team. It's not Jack Del Rio's team. It's your team. What's the standard of performance? Clearly, they don't have one. They don't have one. Bieniemy's trying to give them a standard of performance, and it's a little too hard. It's a little too rough. He's a little hard on us. Okay. Maybe you're not used to it. But the head coach has got to be the one demanding it. Like, you wonder why they can't win close games? Mm-hmm. You wonder why when they're in a tough situation they fold like a cheap tent? You don't have to wonder too hard. Now, he walks it back today, and we might have that clip. But who cares? The damage is done.
Yeah, we do. Let's hear from Rivera one more time in doing just that, kind of trying to put out a fire that he started.
I want to open up with this pretty much. You know, I realized my comments yesterday took on a different life than I intended yesterday. And that's on me for not being as clear as I needed to be. I'll own that. At the end of the day, we know that we're trying to build here, and we're all aligned. As I've said many times since I've hired Eric, I love the overall message that he gave to the team his first day, and that was basically, we got to learn to be comfortable when we're uncomfortable. And I think what's happened is for those guys on that side of the ball, things are uncomfortable.
Well, like you said, Michael, like in this day and age, this happens all the time. But in this sense, this is his own fault. Like you've already let this out. Bieniemy's already had to speak on it. Like this is something that you can't exactly, use the cliche. You're not putting this toothpaste back in the tube at this point if you're Rivera.
No, but I mean, like, why isn't this organized? Hey, here's my program. Here's what I want. Eric, I hired you to be the offensive coordinator. Here's what I want from you. Here's what you need to be able to do. I'm going to support you. Here's what I'm looking for. After practice, we're going to watch tape. Here's what I want. You're not getting enough effort out of this guy. Okay, I'll help here. You help there. Whatever happened to that? Like, that's what good head coaches do. They just don't sit there and observe and throw it out there. I mean, this is very reminiscent of Hugh Jackson. Oh, well, it's somebody else's problem. I got to deal with it. And then he throws the guy under the bus like, oh, he's being too rough. Well, didn't mean what I said. You said it. You have a day every day. You know you're going to go talk to the media. And if the players are unhappy, they shouldn't have to go to Bieniemy. They go to the head coach. Like, okay, you're not happy with how he's coaching? I'll handle it. I've observed the same thing. I mean, I don't get it. Like, it's a billion-dollar industry, and this is how we lead? Like, this is how we lead in a billion-dollar industry? Like, that makes no sense at all.
And I would ask, too, doesn't Bieniemy get to say at some point, whether or not, you, and not you specifically, but like the general out there, whether the general population believes the percentage of work that Eric Bieniemy had in terms of running that offense for Kansas City last year and working with Patrick Mahomes. He's still been the offensive coordinator for an offense and a franchise that has been much better off than what Washington has been over the last few seasons. This is a team that was 26th in EPA last year offensively. They were 20th in total yards. Like, at some point, too, why don't you just listen to the guy who had a hand in helping out one of the better offenses we've seen in quite a while and stop complaining about it because you don't have a leg to stand on. Your unit stinks.
Well, yeah, I agree. And let's face it, you don't have a standard of performance because you watched it happen. You watched Taylor Heinicke turn the ball over. You got a chance to beat the Giants. You got the ball twice in the red zone. You can't make a play down there, right? You turn the ball over. Like, you watched it. Like, what is your answer to solving the problem? That's what they pay Ron Rivera for. They pay you to solve the problem. They don't pay you to talk to the problem to beat writers. They pay you to solve the problem. And you're going to get some hard problems. So, okay, hey, Eric, I would change my approach, or I would do this, or be on the same page. It's comical. Look, Bieniemy may not be a very good coach. I don't know. We're going to find out. Right? But he's not getting support from the guy that has to be the leader of the team. That's a hard thing to do.
So let's spin this forward. Washington's win total is 6.5. We have new ownership, obviously, out there in Washington. You have a quarterback depth chart that looks like an absolute mess when you're talking about Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, and Jake Fromm. This does seem like it is a year that is probably going to be the last for Ron Rivera. So the two-part question is, would you agree with that? And what is this Washington team from a win total standpoint as we head into 2023?
Well, if I was the owner of the team, if I was Josh Harrison, I just witnessed that from the guy that I'm paying the most money to the company to, I would be really mad. I would be really angry. Like, I would be very upset. Like, where is the continuity? Where's the communication? What am I paying you to do? That would be one. Look, last year they had every opportunity. They're 8-1. They could have they lost a lot of close games. For whatever you think of Sam Howell, he can't play any worse than Carson Wentz did, right? He cannot play any worse than Carson Wentz did. And so they got to get better offensively. But they don't do what they have to do to control the game. They don't play in 3 sections. They don't turn the ball over on defense, which is one of their fallacies last year. Really good red area team, really good third down team. But they don't fix problems. This goes back to my column today. Watch the preseason, see the problems in Washington, and we'll know that Rivera's not going to pay any attention to them. They couldn't turn the ball over last summer. They didn't turn it over all in the season. So let's just make sure you get that. Like, he's got a reputation for being a great coach because he's a nice guy. And he's a wonderful man. I'm sure he is. Mm-hmm. But that's not leadership, what he did.
I threw out the Titans as a candidate to have worse record in the National Football League. This might be a team worth considering, right? Like, this could be a team that ends up with the first overall pick next spring.
But they're so good on defense. I mean, they were the best third down team. They were good on the red zone. They got a good front. You know, they shouldn't be this bad. I mean, wake up Bill Parcells at Saratoga. Let him coach this team. What do you think the win total is going to be there?
Yeah.
You think Parcells is going to do this to Bieniemy? You think Parcells is going to sit there and listen to players complain about working too hard? There's a standard of performance. You're a pro player. You got a level you've got to get to. You're not even close to it. You're not even close. You might think you're good. You're so far from being good, it's a joke. And who's going to drive them if I don't? If the leader of the team doesn't drive them, who is?
And I'll say this. I mean, people might think that, hey, top of the leadership, whatever, how much does that really affect? We saw what happened with Hackett and the Broncos last year, right? I mean, if you're poor at the top, it can sink down.
It's a joke that people don't think leadership matters. Look at Mike Tomlin. Sure. He fixed the problems. His team's horrible. They get blown out by Philly, get blown out by Buffalo. Last 9 games of the year, they give up 16 points. If you throw out the Bengal game, it's 13. He fixes the problem. Every team has problems. Who fixes them? The head coach. He don't complain about, I want to talk to you guys. This Bieniemy guy's too hard on the players. What am I going to do? Like, give me a break.
Well, then,
what are we paying you for?
My favorite part is when guys step in and they go, it took a life on its own. Like, no, you said the comments. It was you. By the way.
What did you think was going to happen?
Right. Commanders are 16-1 if you want to get into that market to have the fewest wins in the regular season.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.